Tonight's story is about a town hidden away from the rest of the world. A town where darkness never truly falls. Make yourself comfortable and listen closely. I'm not really the type of person to believe in weird small-town legends. You know, the kind of stories about cursed towns or places where things aren't quite right. But after what happened to me last year, I don't know what to believe anymore. I'm a civil engineer, and last summer I got a contract job to help with infrastructure updates in a town called Harper's Hill. You probably haven't heard of it. It's tiny, way up in the northern part of the state, surrounded by endless forests. The drive out there was normal. Hours of highway, then hours of twisting back roads, until eventually I found myself pulling into Harper's Hill. It looked like every other small town. One main street, a diner, a post office, a handful of houses. It was late when I arrived, probably close to 10 p.m. I remember that because I was exhausted and just wanted to find the motel. But even though it should have been pitch black, the sky had this weird, dull, blue glow, like it was stuck at dusk. At first, I thought it was just light pollution or something, but the weird thing was, there were no stars, no moon, just that dim, sickly blue light. It was like the sky had forgotten how to turn off. I checked into the motel, a rundown place with old yellow wallpaper peeling off the walls. The woman at the front desk barely said a word to me, just handed me a key and stared at me a little too long. That night, I couldn't sleep. Part of it was the travel, sure, but mostly it was the light seeping through the thin curtains. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't convince my body it was nighttime. It just wasn't dark enough. The next morning, I asked the diner waitress if it was always like this. She smiled a weird, tight-lipped smile and said, "Oh, you'll get used to it." I didn't. Every night for the next week, it was the same thing. That dim blue glow outside, that heavy, restless feeling inside me, like my body knew something was wrong, even if my brain tried to dismiss it. Worse than the light were the people. During the day, they acted normal enough, polite, reserved. But at night, if you could even call it night, I would catch glimpses of them through my motel window, walking slowly down the middle of the street, standing perfectly still in their front yards, staring up at the never-dark sky. I tried telling myself they were just night owls or whatever, but there was something about the way they moved or didn't move that made my skin crawl. One night, around 2 a.m., I couldn't sleep at all. I decided to go for a drive just to clear my head. I figured if I could get far enough out of town, maybe I'd find some real darkness. I drove and drove, past the houses, past the empty fields, past the dense black forest. But the sky stayed the same, that strange dim glow stretching on forever. After maybe 20 minutes, I realized something else. Every time I looked in the rearview mirror, the town was still there. The same diner, the same gas station, the same crooked street lamp flickering in front of the post office. I hadn't gone anywhere. I turned off the car and sat there, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I stared at the glowing horizon, trying to understand, trying to make sense of it. That's when I saw them. People. Maybe a dozen of them, just standing at the edge of the trees, watching me. None of them moved. None of them said a word. I don't remember putting the car in gear. I don't remember turning around. I just remember flying back to the motel, locking the door, and lying on the bed with every light on. The next morning, I packed up and left. I didn't even wait for my final paycheck. I just drove, and this time, somehow, I made it out. It was only once I got 100 miles away that the sky finally turned black. Stars appeared. The moon hung high and full. I had to pull over and just sit there for a while, staring up at the real, honest darkness. I still don't know what happened in Harper's Hill. I don't know if it was some kind of phenomenon or something worse. All I know is I won't ever go back. And sometimes, late at night, I swear I can still feel that soft, sickly blue glow pressing against the windows of my new apartment, waiting, as if Harper's Hill never really let me leave. When I first moved into the new apartment, it felt like a fresh start. I'd just gone through a rough breakup, and the idea of a blank slate sounded perfect. The apartment was small, nothing fancy, one bedroom, a tiny kitchen, and a bathroom with old tiles that were cracked in places, but it was cheap and close to work. The first few days were normal. I spent most of my time unpacking, getting used to the odd creaks and groans of the building. The bathroom mirror was a little strange, though. It was old, with tiny black spots creeping around the edges from age. I noticed it the first night I brushed my teeth. My reflection seemed a little off. At first, it was easy to explain away. Maybe the glass was warped, maybe the lighting was weird. But then I started noticing little things. Like I'd blink, and my reflection would blink just a half second too late. Or I'd tilt my head to the left, and the reflection would seem to hesitate before following. I told myself I was imagining it. Stress, exhaustion, loneliness, all of it adding up to play tricks on my mind. But it got worse. One night, I was brushing my teeth, half asleep, when I glanced up at the mirror. My reflection was already looking at me, staring before I'd even raised my head. I dropped my toothbrush into the sink, heart hammering in my chest. I stayed perfectly still, watching the mirror. My reflection stood there, smiling. I wasn't smiling. I backed out of the bathroom slowly, flicking the light switch off as I went. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I could see that grin. The next morning, everything looked normal. No strange smiles, no delayed movements. Just my tired, worn-out face looking back at me. I convinced myself it had been a dream, a bad dream. Life went back to normal. For a little while. Then came the tapping. Late at night, I'd hear a soft, rhythmic tapping coming from the bathroom. At first, I thought it was just the pipes or maybe a tree branch brushing against the building. But it always came from the mirror. I started noticing other strange things too. I'd leave the bathroom light off before going to bed, only to find it flicked on in the middle of the night. Small things would move. My toothbrush shifted to the other side of the sink. Towels fallen to the floor. I even caught a glimpse once of a handprint, not mine, smudged against the inside of the mirror. One night, I'd had enough. I got up, stormed into the bathroom, and yanked the light on. There it was, my reflection. Except it wasn't me. It looked like me, but wrong. The eyes were too wide, the smile too stiff. It tapped its fingers against the glass in a slow, deliberate rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. I stood there, frozen. My mind screamed at me to run, to do anything but stand there and stare. But I couldn't move. Then, the reflection moved its hand forward, pressing its palm flat against the inside of the mirror. And the glass rippled. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over myself. The reflection's smile grew wider, impossibly wide. It leaned forward, pressing against the glass, as if trying to push through. I ran out of the apartment that night. I didn't take anything with me. I didn't even lock the door. I just ran. I stayed with a friend for a few days, too ashamed to tell him the real reason why. I lied and said my apartment had plumbing issues. Eventually, I went back during the day to grab my things. I was terrified, but when I stepped inside, everything was still, quiet, normal. The mirror looked dusty, old, just a piece of glass, nothing more. I packed up as fast as I could, barely breathing, until I stepped outside again. I moved across town to a bigger place with a brand new bathroom and mirrors I installed myself. I tried to move on, made new friends, took up new hobbies, but the unease never fully left me. Sometimes I would catch glimpses of myself in shop windows or car mirrors and swear, just for a split second, that my reflection lingered a little too long after I turned away. Worse yet, sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night feeling watched, not by someone in my room, no, by something inside the mirrors. I even started covering them at night, hanging towels over bathroom mirrors, pulling curtains over windows. I told myself it was irrational, but I did it anyway. Last week, though, something happened I can't explain away. I was brushing my teeth before bed, facing a mirror I'd left uncovered, half asleep, mind wandering, when I saw it. A smile that wasn't mine, nor a reflection, not a trick of the light. Just a smile, stretched unnaturally wide, appearing in the mirror where my face should have been. I dropped the toothbrush and backed away slowly, refusing to turn my back to it. The smile stayed, watching, waiting. And tonight, as I write this, the mirrors in my apartment are starting to ripple again. I'm not exactly the superstitious type. Ghost stories, urban legends, they were just that to me. Stories. But after what happened during my last semester at college, I don't laugh at those stories anymore. I had picked up a part-time job shelving books at the campus library. It was decent pay, and the hours were flexible. The only downside was that a few times a week, I had to work the late shift, leaving around 10 or 11 at night. The library sat next to a 5-level parking garage, mostly empty that late. My car was always parked somewhere near the top since the lower levels filled up during the day. It wasn't ideal, but it was usually quiet. At first, the nights were normal, just the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of traffic. But after a few weeks, I started noticing it. A slow, off-tune whistling. The first time I heard it, I figured it was just someone messing around. College kids were always doing weird things. But every night after that, whenever I left late, the whistling was there. It wasn't loud. It wasn't frantic. It was slow, calm, almost patient. And no matter what level I parked on, the whistling was always nearby. I'd glance around as I walked, but I never saw anyone, just empty rows of cars and the hollow echo of my own footsteps. It got under my skin. I started parking closer to the elevators, near other cars, trying to shake the feeling, but it didn't matter. The whistling always found me. One night, after a brutal cram session, I left even later than usual. The garage was practically deserted. I made it to the 3rd level, where I'd parked, and there it was again, the slow, broken tune, drifting through the concrete. Except this time, it was closer. I picked up my pace, keys gripped tight in my hand. I didn't run, but I wanted to. As I neared my car, something caught my eye across the garage, a tall figure standing between 2 columns, half hidden in the shadows. He was facing me. Even from that distance, I could tell he was whistling. His body swayed slightly with each broken note. I fumbled with my keys, cursing under my breath, and practically dove into my car. As I started the engine, I dared a glance toward where he had been standing. He was gone. I peeled out of there without looking back. The next few nights, I avoided working late. I made up excuses, swapped shifts, anything to stay away from that garage after dark. But eventually, it caught up with me. One night, after a group project ran longer than expected, I found myself walking toward the garage at nearly midnight. The campus was deserted, buildings dark and silent. I told myself I'd be quick. Get in. Get out. I took the stairs instead of the elevator, hoping to move faster. As I climbed to the 4th level where I'd parked, the whistling started again. It was closer than ever. My heart pounded in my ears. I stepped onto the 4th level and immediately spotted my car sitting under a lone, flickering light. And there he was, standing next to my car, hand lightly dragging across the roof, whistling that same broken tune. He was tall, unnaturally tall and thin, like his limbs were just a little too long. His head was tilted slightly, as if listening for me. I froze. He stopped whistling. Slowly, he turned his head toward me. Even from across the lot, I could feel his eyes locking onto mine. I don't remember running. I just remember slamming the stairwell door behind me, practically flying down the stairs 2 at a time. I didn't stop until I was back at the library, locking the doors and calling campus security. When they arrived and searched the garage, they found nothing. No man, no footprints, no signs of anyone even being there. They brushed it off, said maybe I'd been seeing things after a long night. Maybe. But I switched my schedule after that. No more late nights. And yet, sometimes, when I'm walking through a parking lot late at night, I swear I hear it. That same slow, broken whistling. Waiting. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed tonight's story, consider subscribing for more unsettling true experiences. Stay safe, and if you ever find yourself somewhere the night never comes, don't stay too long.